All right, it's saying we're live, but I'm gonna let this load up because it doesn't look like it quite yet. So if y'all do see me, just give it a second. I'm waiting for it to load up on my end. Hope everybody has had a blessed and abundant Tuesday. Alrighty. Alrighty, we are live here. Gonna give it some time for some people to show up and show into the room. Looks like this is going well. Alrighty here. All right, we're gonna wait. Like I said, let some people show up before I get into it. If anything, we're gonna get started here in a little bit. Like I said, I hope everybody has had a blessed and abundant Tuesday. I am excited and looking forward to going over these next 7 weeks. What we're gonna do is this is going to kind of be an intro into the chakras. It's not going to be a lot of in-depth information, a lot of advanced stuff. That's kind of, if you want to go more into that, want to work on aligning your chakras, finding where the imbalances are at, and doing to work to remove those imbalances, whether it's your chakras are overactive and underactive. We're going to touch on all that today, but like I said, if you're looking for something more, a little bit more in depth, let's just set up a time to get with me personally outside of this, and we will be able to do that. But I'm going to give it about 2 more minutes, let a few more people show up, and we'll just go from there. Let me see here. I hope everybody can hear me. So far, it looks good. I do have a lot of notes to cover, about 3 or 4 pages of notes to go over here. So just to recap, what we're going to be doing this first week. First week, we're going to be touching on the root chakra. Obviously, you have your 7 major chakras. There are a whole lot more than just the 7 major ones, but for the purpose of what we're doing here for the next 7 weeks here, we're just going to be taking a week at a time, 1 chakra per week. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Let me get my notes pulled up here. Alrighty, here. Give me 1 second here. Let me get these notes pulled up. Let's minimize this. Okay. All right. So I appreciate everybody being here today. For the ones who couldn't make it or whatnot, obviously there's a recording for this, so you can go back and play it on your own time. But like I said, let's just hop right into it. So what we're gonna do is kind of go over the foundation of the root chakra, and once we go to the foundation of it, we're gonna kind of go more in depth of what the root chakra does, where it's located, all that type of information. But let's start with some type of foundational information. So when it comes to your chakras, they can only be in 3 states: overactive, underactive, or balanced. If it's overactive, then there's an excess of energy within this certain chakra. If it's underactive, then there's not enough energy, and obviously it goes without saying, balance is balance. You also may hear people refer to your chakras as your energetic centers or your psychic centers. I like to call them your emotional centers. Every emotion you have, from aggression, from sadness, from happiness, from joy, any emotion you have can be linked back to one of the 7 major chakras here. Now, people may ask, what's the importance or the relevance of your chakras? We're going to get more into that as we go throughout this. I think that point will kind of be made. So just, stay with me and stick along, and we'll get to that. Another thing I do want to touch on before we get right into it is understanding that your chakras have cycles of which they develop, and they typically have a 7-year developing, or they're developing within cycles of 7 years. So your root chakra is going to kind of go back to the ages of 0 to 7. Obviously, the next chakra, thus being your sacral, is going to be from 7 to 14, and then your solar 14 to 21. But obviously, the purpose of this video or of this live is to go over the roots, so we're only going to touch on that. But again, one of the importance of knowing our chakra and our chakra system is this is where a lot of our program behavior, you can trace it back to, what it links back to. So now that we kind of touched on that foundational stuff, let's get into the root chakra. So, a brief overview of the root chakra. It corresponds with the element of earth. It's at the base of your spine. Um, to be specific, it is at the perineum along the first three vertebrae, at the pelvic plexus of your spine. That's where the root chakra is at. A lot of what people know this chakra to do is with like your security, your safety, your survival. And a lot of times when I'm teaching it in my class, I like to say it's like your home life. And not just necessarily your home life now, you know how things are, but your home life like when you were a child. So again, keep in mind the ages of 0 to 7. This is when the chakra was really developing. So a lot of what this chakra had to do was with your basic needs. So food, you know, shelter, resources, self-preservation, you know, things like that. Um, you know, this chakra has a lot to do, like I said, with those type of things. That's really what that's really what it surrounds. One of the things I do want to talk on when it comes to this chakra is if there are some imbalances within these chakras, we can typically see them manifest. Let's just say, you know, you have an overactive root chakra. What type of behaviors will it manifest as? A lot of times, these people, when they have an overactive root chakra, they're going to come off as somebody who is greedy, egotistical. They may be domineering, even bossy. They may have addictions to, you know, things like wealth, things of that nature. They may be high strung, hyperactive. And this is what we see when we see there's too much energy within this chakra. Now, underactive, you know, this is going to be if there's not enough energy within this area. If the root chakra is not that strong and it's not that, you know, like I said, there's not enough energy there. That person, what it's going to look like, what those behaviors are going to manifest as excuse me, is this person's going to have a hard time reaching their goals. They're not going to have a lot of confidence. They may feel unloved, not grounded, deficient energy, just not enough to do for themselves. Again, like I said, they're going to lack confidence. They're not going to be able to have a lot of willpower. You know, they're also going to be quite some fearful people and frustrated individuals because, again, there is an imbalance within this chakra. Now, why is this so important and why does any of this matter? So, one of the ways I like to say this is, again, when we're thinking about the root chakra, it has everything to do with the age or time frame of 0 to 7. So, what I like to kind of direct my students through is what took place at those time frames from the ages of 0 to 7. I know people in this group, the ages differ from 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, etc. And I know for some people that may be hard to go back and look at those times. But why this is important is when there were negative situations that took place between these age periods, especially from 0 to 7, what we have to realize is whatever took place, that negative situation, whatever the behavior was that we observed, we unconsciously took that behavior and made it a part of our own. So, in other words, we downloaded that programmable behavior and made it a part of ourselves. Why does this matter and why is any of this important? Well, if you find yourself constantly, whether it be with money, whether it be you can never, you know, keep a stable job, it seems like you're always going from place to place, there's not a lot of stability in your life. You know, if you're having something like that, or there's things in your adulthood that it seems like you can't get the issue resolved, whether it's some type of habit you have, some type of behavior that you do, something that you are well aware of, and you're like, I know I need to do better, but it seems like every time I try to make an attempt, it just seems like I can't do it. The reason for this is what you are not aware of until you obviously hear this now is you have an unconscious program behavior running on loop in the background. And you need to realize where did you first observe or download this program? Now, why do we say the ages from 0 to 7? Well, how I like to look at this is I like to give the analogy of a house. And you know, my so just give a little bit of background about myself or my family a little bit. You know, they're in construction. Been building, you know, residential homes for, you know, over 20 something years now. And one of the things that they always do is they pour the foundation first. You know, you have to pour and lay the foundation. Now, what happens if you have a bad grade of concrete, or there's something within the material? What typically happens is when they're going to lay that foundation, and if it's not a good grade, it's not good concrete, it's not leveled off, what's going to happen is when we go to build on top of it, we're going to find something with what we call structural defects. Well, what are structural defects when we apply that to ourselves? What does that manifest as? Well, as we said, it can manifest as depression, anxiety, greed, narcissism, whatever the negative mental things out there. A lot of the times that goes back because the foundation that we initially started off with was not well. So what you have a lot of people doing and what's going on is they're trying to be, what's the word here? They're trying to go throughout society, be functional adults and be able to handle all the stresses within the world, your bills, your job, the kids, all these things that you have to do as being adult, especially if you do have these responsibilities. And it seems like it's so much, and it seems like, again, like I was saying earlier, no matter how hard you keep trying, you keep finding yourself in these certain patterns, in these certain loops, or in these certain cycles. And it's like, why can I not get past this, or why can I not get get past this? And again, like I said, like I'm saying, is what happens is, and if we want to go a little bit scientific with this, on a subconscious level, you have downloaded a program. Now, let's take a little pause here, and we're still talking about the root chakra, but let's talk about our subconscious mind here real quick. The subconscious mind can only be programmed in 3 ways: trauma, symbols, and repetition. I want people to understand something about trauma. You have to understand that the degree or the severity of trauma can vary. You can have some severe situations of trauma, such as, rape, somebody being molested. Those are more of the severe degrees of trauma. Now, the simple definition I like to give for trauma is it's any situation that you were part of that was completely overwhelming, that you had no control over. So, example of this: if you were in a household where the lights kept getting cut off, there wasn't enough food to go around, you had to keep going from place to place, you were in an environment where you kept hearing one of your parents tell you, you'll never amount to anything, you're worthless, you're just like your dad, you're just a dead, you're never going to become, you're never going to be anything. If you grew up in an environment where that was something that you constantly keep hearing, or you observe those things, understand, until you decide to actually do the work and go back and to resolve those things, these are programs that are ingrained within you. Now you say, well, Chris, I don't believe that. Fine, fair enough. Let's see what science has to say about it. So this comes from Dr. Rima Labo. But what it says is, between the birth and 2 years of age, the human brain predominantly operates at the lowest EEG frequency between 0.5 to 4 cycles per second, known as delta waves. So right now, as you're listening to this, your mind is primarily functioning in the beta state. That's active consciousness, active focus. But when you're between the birth of 2 years and honestly all the way up to age 6, you're operating in a low frequency brainwave known as delta waves. Now, what's so important about delta? Well, let's finish this. It says, delta is their predominant wave activity. Babies can exhibit periodic short bursts of higher EEG activity characterized as theta between 2 to 6 years of age. Hypnotherapists typically drop their patients' activity into theta because this low frequency brainwave puts them into a more suggestible / programmable state. So it goes, it goes beta, alpha, delta, and then theta. Theta and then delta. So theta is right like one step above delta, but these are still more, these wave frequency are still more of a suggestible programmable state, way more than beta to alpha. So I'm not trying to confuse anybody here, but let's just keep thinking about this. So theta, if you're primarily operating between delta to theta from 0 to 6, and we said your root chakra was 0 to 7, then you're primarily operating in a more suggestible programmable state. So what I mean by this, in other words, you're a blank canvas. Anything that you observed in your environment Whether it's beneficial or negative, it becomes a part of you. Now, for the purpose of this live and what we're talking about today, we really want to focus on the negative behaviors, because due to this is where a lot of the problems that many of you all may be facing. Like I said, whether it may be you're having a hard time holding a job down, there seems to never be enough. You're constantly living like paycheck to paycheck. Where it comes to the security of your finances, the security of your home, your survival, you're always constantly in a survival mood. You have to ask yourself, why am I acting like this? Why am I constantly in this type of state? Why is it no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to shake this? The reason being is because, like I said, when you were operating, or excuse me, when you were at that age of 0 to 7, your mind was in theta. And when your mind was in theta, you were downloading everything around you, all the behaviors you observed, whatever your parents did, you observed that, and that became a part of you. Just like you have with a computer, and or let's make it simple. A lot of us have iPhones or Androids or whatever your thing is. You obviously have an app store, right? And then within that app store, you can go on there and download a program, and then boom, you download the app. The app obviously functions off of a coded program, and then the program plays itself out, and that's what it does. Well, think about that same thing for yourself. You are that phone, you are the hardware. And the behaviors that took place in this early age that you observed, especially the ones were negative, added on to your programming, or other words, your conditioning. So now you've been conditioned, and here's the thing, where do these programs, where are they at? What part of your mind do they lie in, or where they're stored in? They're stored in the subconscious mind. Now, what's the relevant or the significance of this? Your subconscious mind is 3,500 times more powerful than your conscious mind. So even though you're telling yourself, oh, I need to do this differently, or I need to make changes on a conscious level, that's not where the change needs to be made. It needs to be made on within the subconscious mind, because again, these are where these programs are being housed and stored in, and this is where we need to do work in order to one, acknowledge them, to understand them, but then to reprogram them from there to something that's more beneficial for what you're trying to do right now in your given life, no matter how old you are. So 20s, 30s, 40s, etc. Why this is also important is, again, you primarily operate subconscious. You primarily operate 95% consciously and 5% consciously. So again, the changes of where we're looking to make is going to be on a subconscious level. So why is all this relevant? If you are looking to make changes, and like I said, as we go throughout the different chakras, we're going to touch more on all the other ones. But remember, your root chakra is going to surround a lot of your security, your survival, your well-being. And if you're currently in this like moment right now at the age that you are seeing yourself go through these things, like you can't get your own place, you can't seem to hold down a good job, you always seem to be moving from place to place, it never seems like there's enough resources, whether that's money, whether that's food, where it just never seems like there's enough. I'm telling you, there is some type of program that has been playing on the background that you have been unconscious of, and it's up to you to go back and go to view, go see, and as simple as asking yourself, what was my childhood like? What was it like those very first 0 to 7 years for me? And again, look, it could be something where this doesn't apply to you. You had everything good, you had everything you need, and I'm almost willing to bet you're probably in a situation right now where you're the same way. You have everything you need, because why? That's the only program that you observe. A lot of people always get mad at themselves and they get frustrated because it's like I said, they keep going through those cycles and they keep going through those loops, and it's like, why can I never get out of this? But again, like I said, you only know what you know. And from a subconscious level, if that's the only program you have, then how can you expect yourself to ever do better if you don't know anything better to do? And this is why we're going over this. That way we can start, like I said, bringing these problems from the deeper parts of our minds up to the surface, so we can actively do work to, resolve them. So let's go a little bit more into this. And I don't have a lot. Like I said, I did not plan on being here a lot today. I just wanted to kind of go over this. Give me a second here. So one of the things that you can do after we kind of leave here today, like I said, you should think about the ages of 0 to 7. What do you remember? Were they good experiences or were they negative ones? For the purpose of this exercise, I want you to focus on the negative ones. Do you remember moving from place to place? Do you remember having the lights on all the time? Do you remember having, was it a two-parent household or was it a one-parent household? Was mom and dad always arguing? That's another thing. If you constantly finding yourself going through relationship issues right now, especially with your spouse or your significant other, I guarantee you've observed some program back when you were a child. Prime example, what do I mean by this? Communication, being able to open up. You know, I grew up in a household where when my father started to get upset, and I remember this very, very vividly, he would not communicate how he felt. He would go lock himself off, go to his room, go shut the door, lock it, and we wouldn't hear from him from the rest of the night. And that's how he coped when it went through those hard times. And I'm sure some of you can all probably relate to that, and that may resonate with you because you probably find yourself doing the same thing, going to the bathroom, going to go hop in the car, going to go turn on music. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but again, you have to understand that, again, and the point of what I'm making all this is, the reason why you're doing that or playing that program or playing that behavior out is that's what you observed. And the purpose of this is to, with a fine tooth comb, go through the different behaviors and to ask yourself, well, does this help me? Is it beneficial? Is it helping me to get where I need to do? Or is it the exact opposite of that? Is it causing me more stress? Is it causing me more turmoil, more chaos? Is it causing me mental confusion? Is it making me exhausted, mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted? Am I always feeling like I said, I keep going through these cycles I can never get out? And if you answered yes to the latter part of that, then this is for you. So again, like I said, you have to look at these experiences that took place within the earlier years of your life. Do you remember there being enough resources? Again, these are all unconscious programs that you downloaded that you were not aware of, because science tells us that our mind, science tells us that our minds are operating in theta to delta from 0 to 7, and it's not until age 12 where our mind really goes into beta, and that's when we can start picking and choosing what we're going to accept. So we really have to get to the roots of this, the roots of our issues, because like I said earlier with the analogy of building the home, if you don't lay a proper foundation and you build up on top of that, everything above there's going to be some type of imbalance. There's going to be something where there is another issue, because the root chakra is your foundation and you build up off of that. What you learned at your home, you go outside the home. You take that. You take your parents' way of communication. You take your parents' way of doing things. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be frank, and this is not a diss on anybody's parents, anything like that. But within the Black community, there has been a lot of trauma from generation to generation to generation. And it has yet to be resolved. And due to that, what's going on is your parents taught this shit to you. You took it on. And unless you're doing the work actively right now, I'm almost willing to bet, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody here. I'm just keeping shit real. More than likely, you probably find yourself doing the exact same thing that your parents did to your own children. So this is why this is important to really acknowledge and address this and get to the roots of it, because for our little ones, the next generation, it's up to us to stop this from continuing on. So, like I said, I wasn't going to be here long at all. You know, I hope there was something that was said that, you know, was able to bring some value out of this. But again, like I said, if this is something where you're wanting to, you know, find some more information, really get to the roots of this, really, you know, like I said, really, if there is any imbalances, if you have over and underactive chakras and you want to work with me, let me know. We'll do that, but we'll be here next week. We're going to go over the sacral chakra, and then from there, we're going to go over the solar chakra. Let me do this. I'm going to look over some of the comments here. What did you say? Peace, Dula. How you doing, my brother? Says lots of us, because our pasts are running on the spectrum of borderline. Absolutely, absolutely. And again, like I said, you know, you're right. It's a lot of the things that we observed as children and we're seeing it, and we're not even aware of it until something like this brings it to our attention. Steven said, I listen to my dreams to change my reality. My subconscious speaks loud in dreams. Look, I want to touch on that real quick since you did bring that up. And you're absolutely right within that. Your subconscious, a way it communicates to you is through your dreams. And this is for anybody who may be interested in breaking down your dreams. When you're having a dream, depending on whatever is going on in that dream, you need to ask yourself, okay, within this dream, you know, what's going on? Where am I at? Am I at, you know, my house, my childhood home? You know, is this something where, is this a place where I'm used to, I've been at before? And what you're trying to do here is there's a certain feeling that's trying to be communicated or being brought up to you. And you're using this feeling in a sense, I'm trying to see the best way how to put this. You're using this feeling in a sense to essentially shed light in where you need to make a change at. Now, it depends, because I'm not going to say every dream is like that. Now, if you go to bed with a certain question saying, hey, Spirit, I need you to show this and reveal this to me where I still need to work on, then yes, you could sure have a dream that's going to tell you that. It may put you into some situation where it was something that you remember that you did as a child, where there was someplace you went to, an amusement park, or the family home, something. But again, what it's trying to do is bring a deeper underlying message or some type of trauma or whatever that needs to be brought to the surface to your awareness. And honestly, I want to go ahead because I really don't feel like I did a lot of justice in explaining that the best. And I want to actually take a whole live to go more into that. But that being said, I have been here in almost 30 minutes, and I said I wasn't going to make this long. Again, I hope you all were able to take some value out of this. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be here next week working on the sacral chakra. That's a lot. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. But nonetheless, though, y'all take it easy. Peace. I love y'all. Stay up.